with like schools getting back and forth with the whole digital versus. I mean, here in Georgia, it's a mess. I don't know what's going on.
I might get a lot of hate for saying that, but I firmly believe that teachers should do something. Like, whether it's, I'm just gonna. I think teachers should go on strike because the thing is, they're getting pay cuts hardcore right now, and they're going to go all digital, and they're expected to learn a whole new curriculum last minute, and some of these kids don't have access to proper internet connections or even computers to do digital learning. I mean, they're potentially being exposed to the virus. So I think, to be honest, that teachers should probably just go on strike. So I mean, that's just what I think. So anybody let me know. Anybody can debate me on that. What do you think?
Because I think, I know that in Puerto Rico, when I was talking to my mom, she said that back in the day when there were hurricanes and they needed to kind of incorporate people coming in stages, what they would do is half of the kids go in the morning, half of the kids go in the afternoon. Because at the end of the day, honestly, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know if anybody would agree, but you only spend learning in school about 5 hours. You don't need to be there for the whole day to learn pretty much in a whole day. Like 1 hour of that is lunch. Then you spend another 2 hours meandering the hallways or whatever, like in between classes or breaks or anything like that. So, or breakfast or whatever. So I feel like that would have been a good option. Then lo and behold, Puerto Rico does it. Puerto Rico is doing the staggered thing.
Right.
5 in the morning until 12 or whatever, you go home. And then in the afternoon, the other group comes in and then they go home. You don't need to serve lunch because you're going home anyways. So you'll be eating lunch at home. and even then, and that's obviously to help with the exposure part of it. And even then, people are still going on strike.
Right.
So I still don't know, like, what's the solution here? I'm like, okay, so you don't want kids to stay home and not get exposed, but you don't want kids to go to school, but you still want the teachers to like still learn all this
Right.
span of a few weeks instead of having done this 3 months ago, you know?
Well, here's the thing. I think we need to focus on what the purpose of school is. You know, it depends on your outlook of what school is to you. If you're just sending your kid for free daycare, I mean, then that could be how you see school. And you want schools to reopen, to go back to full schedule because you want them to go back. And that's a perfectly normal and justifiable reason for having school, because parents have to work. Parents have to pay the bills. They can't leave their kids unattended at home. That's a perfectly liable solution or reason or justification for why you want to reopen schools. The other side is school just strictly for education? Are we providing, quote unquote, baby care services or babysitting services? Like, is that what school is? You got to ask yourself, if that's what school is, if we're just sending our kids for educational purposes, we're not really mandating babies, or not babies, but babysitting requirements or anything like that, then maybe staggering the kids at different times is the right way to do it. So I think we really need to figure out what the purpose of school is and re-justify that and sort of reorganize ourselves around that aspect to really figure out, all right, now where do we go from here? All right, once we figured out, is school actually like a babysitting thing? Like, are we just opening it up so parents can have an opportunity to work? Justifiable, fine. Or is this an educational realm that, no, we really need to educate these kids to provide better education, provide opportunities so that they can succeed later on in life? Again, great justifiable points. Or is it a combination of both? And if it is, how do we, find a solution? I think we're too caught up in what we think school is versus, how COVID is perceived. So I think we really need to have these talks about what the purpose is, and then we can move from there.
Well, do you remember? I mean, do you remember when you went to school? When I went to school, I mean, uh, I went to school. I got there at 7. Had to get up at 6:30. Got there at 7. School starts or 7:15. Got out at 3. Of all those hours there, 2 of those hours were spent during lunch and breaks and random stuff. So technically, I only needed to be in school from 7 to 12,
Right.
and that's it. And then the other part of the day was either at the bus or randomly going around the hallways. And even in class, I mean, by the time the teacher settles the whole class down, you start learning. The teachers gave us break times, and if you had a really bad teacher, they'll just give you lazy work because they didn't want to teach you. Like, you waste a lot of time in school. So I'm trying to think, okay, educational purposes, if you cut out the meat, the fat, you know, which is extra, but
Right.
it's then you give people the meat. Parents might be upset because it's not exactly what they want. It doesn't cover everything they're used to, and I
Right.
think that's the little detail. It's like, oh,
Shooting. Turn the camera off and reinstall. Is that me? Or is that you? That's
that's
me.
you.
Oh well. Hopefully my camera didn't overheat. That'd be bad. Coming back on.
Hmm. Prank. Oregano said pranked.
Well, here's the thing. I guess I'll keep talking while I'm trying to figure out this problem. Um, the point you make is a very justifiable point. The counter argument to that, though, is what Dell is saying. Mr. Know-it-all. School provides
Mm-hmm.
supervision. If you
Mm-hmm.
make school half day, some kids will stop going altogether, and they'll fall behind, and eventually, and further educationally. So, I mean, do we provide that educational aspect, or do we provide the supervisional aspect? Like, which one is it? Or is it a combination of both? I think it's more of a combination of both, and just trying to figure out what the heck is going on for me. Sorry, my brain is still scattered. I'm
There
trying
you go.
to. There we go. All right, we got it back up.
Well, the counter argument, I guess the small counter I would give to that, and it's not because I mean I really don't know what needs to be done. I agree with you, Dylan, and I agree with both sides of the argument. But the thing about the supervision part and the kids going to school half day would stop going. Kids stop going because it's full day, you know, and they still stop going. But and some kids see it as a waste of time,
Mm-hmm.
because they're there for so long. They have a mix of the fat and the meat. They have classes they like, but the rest they don't. Or they have
Right.
experiences they don't like at school that they wish they could just go in there for learning. I mean, I've heard it all. I've heard all sorts of reasons why kids either stop going or they're just not enthusiastic. But think about, like, if they do go half day, they're only going for learning. I'm gonna learn this so I can get my high school diploma. Some kids might benefit from that. Might say, okay, well, I cut out the distractions and I'm able to go and focus on what I need to do to pass, and that's it. I mean, it's not homeschool because you're not digitally there all the time, but you're at least getting your taxes money out of it.
At the end of the day, that's what it's meant
At the
for,
end of the
right?
day,
Yeah. I mean,
just said. So I don't know. I see what he's saying, but I also think that kids should stop going anyways, whether it's a half a day or a
right.
full day.
No, I mean, again, completely justifiable explanation. I think we're all stuck on trying to figure out. This whole thing caught us by surprise, and I don't think that people thought that COVID was still going to be going on come August 2020. So sad to think that we didn't think that far ahead, but we didn't. So we're here now, and I think everybody's scrambling to try and figure out what the next solution is. So, let me get to this comment real quick. Let's see. Since I left the corporate world, I have settled for whatever is inexpensive and functions decently. I think that's in referral to PC, Android arguments.
I think a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, my sister works at Longwood University, and she has gotten a 70% pay cut for COVID-19, but they don't know when her pay will be back. University of Longwood. It's one of the two. I'm too fucking tired. Oh. In agreement with what Dylan said about teachers, sadly, no one in Congress or any elected official received a cut. Yet the people they are entrusted to help, they cut their salaries. Kaler, coronavirus. Gina, I completely agree. No one says anything about the high up people. And we already read that one. Pranked. Who turned on the lights? I'm taking the free frame. Schools also develop social skills. And if you don't live in a populated area without schools, it's hard to develop those types of things. Screenshot of Dylan looking like a Smurf in Discord. Oh my gosh. Beautiful.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. But I mean, I agree with you. I in some aspects, I think that we need to think about how we can reorganize school and what is the intention and purpose of school. I think that is the education system that we have today actually viable in contemporary society? So, I mean, the things that we're learning, are they actually helping kids succeed in life? Like, instead of learning, I don't know, old literature, I mean, instead of interpreting Edgar Allan Poe and his poetry, should we be learning finances, and should we be learning, more sustainable educational material for actual life? Like, I don't know.
So.
Like, should we be reorganizing school in a way that we're focusing on the core aspects of what education is and what it means, or are we just providing supervisional care? I mean, that's still, I think that's a valid point. I think the supervision is important solely because it helps parents who don't have the resources to pay a babysitter or someone to watch their kid for however long, like an 8-hour workday. So, I mean, that's why typically elementary schools line up with the workday schedule. Mm-hmm. Like, so if you look at like elementary schools like Taylor Elementary, or what are the other elementary schools? But if you look at them, they typically line up with, adult work schedules, because they provide parents that don't have access to that material, like the resources for funding a babysitter. They provide access for supervisional care, which is incredibly important. Again, I think that we just need to really have a talk about what the importance of education is and how we can reevaluate it in contemporary America.
So